Hello again. This is Joy. It's Monday, February. I just looked it up and I already forgot. I think it's the 6th of February, 2012. I'm going to show you how you put a sleeve in. That is, if I can find the sleeve. Here's a sleeve. Okay. What you do is you turn your garment inside out. And you keep your sleeve right side out. Then you figure out on your sleeve which sleeve you've got. You have to match up the double notch to the double notch and the single notch to the single notch, which simply shows you what's the front and what's the back. You don't have to make them match each other. You just want to make sure that's the side you're up against, okay? You stick the sleeve in the hole. Make sure you've got right side to right side. Now, I always iron my inside side seams toward the back because of the bust dart. And there's more bulk where the bust dart is, so I always iron my side seams toward the back. Therefore, I always iron my sleeve hole seams toward the front because that gives you less bulk and you just butt them up next to each other that way, okay? So I'm going to butt those up next to each other. You match the seam underneath the arm. You come up here to the shoulder. Get the collar out of the way so you don't sew it to your sleeve if you have a collar. You should have a little notch like that. I hope you can see it because I can't tell what the camera can see. And you match it up to the shoulder seam. So now you've got the shoulder matched up and you've got the underarm matched up. And then you have all these gathers in between. But you know that all the gathers on this side go between the shoulder and the side seam, and all the gathers on this side go between the shoulder and the side seam. So all you have to do, see, if you just watch the video of me putting those gathers in, look at how perfectly it already fits. It's just awesome. I'm not even going to have to pull them out or put them in or anything. Now see here on these notches, the notch on the blouse is about ½ inch higher than the notch on the sleeve. I used to just panic and go nuts over that. I probably even threw things away because of it. I just thought I was the stupidest sewer and I was never going to get it right because those notches never would line up right. And here I am, 61 years old, and I find out, oh, you're not supposed to match them up. Those are just to show you the front and the back. Oh. Heaven help us. Why didn't somebody ever tell me that? I'm pulling it just a little bit looser on the sleeve. It's gathered up a tad tight there. Now, you'll hear differences of opinion as to whether you sew the sleeve in from the sleeve side or the garment side. Peggy Sager sews it on a serger and sews it from the sleeve side. I cannot do that. I'm the type of person, I want to see all my gathers and I want to make sure everything lays totally flat. Now see, these notches don't match up either. The notches on the garment are just a tad higher than the notches on the sleeve. But I don't care because it doesn't matter. Such freedom. Stress-free, no tranquilizers. Sure, there's a lot of people probably think I should be on them, but I'm not. Okay. I put a lot of pins. I'm a pin person, except for the weights. Alright, now my sleeve is too tight there. So, I have to let the gathers out from there down. If they don't let out, just pull it and snap a couple of them. Now, do I need to move it forward? Sometimes I change my shoulder and I move the shoulder seam forward. And if you do that, you need to move the shoulder seam forward on your sleeve too. But I guess that kind of took care of itself, didn't it? If I did or I didn't, I matched up the shoulder seam. My shoulder might be a little bit forward. I think it'll turn out though. Alright, there. See how neat that is? I've got the whole sleeve pinned in. It fits perfectly. And then for sleeves, of course, you want to use your arm on your sewing machine. You take the table off of it and you just do the free arm. And you wrap this sucker around that arm. Doesn't matter where you start, I just start anywhere. And, have I told you yet, my new thing I learned is you don't have to sew at the preset stitch length that the company that made your machine decided they were going to put in here. You can make it bigger than that. Pardon me, my nose is running and I'm too lazy to go get a Kleenex here. You don't have to sew at 2.5. You can sew at 3. Oh my gosh! Did that ever set me free too? You know why? Because if you make a little bit bigger stitch and you have to rip it out, it is so much easier to rip it out the looser that it is. See, I'm just sewing this right in. I'm not having problems with the gathers. And I am sewing on the garment side. Used to, when I would sew 2 rows of basting stitches, I would sew from the sleeve side, because if I didn't, I would have all kinds of tucks and pinched gathers. Make sure my collar's out of the way, and it is. You know to use your hands. Use your hands on the top, use your hands on the bottom, don't sew over them. Your hands are the best tools you've got. Okay. Moving up over just a hair. I always make sure my seam is lying flat. I don't like scrunched up seams. I don't have cold. In all my videos, you can hear me coughing or see me wiping my nose. It's allergies. And I like it cold in my house. It is February the 6th, did I say? I've got the windows open and the air conditioner on. That might have a tad to do with why my nose is running. But I don't care. It keeps me perky. I can't stand a hot room. It makes me sleepy. And if you're sleepy, you can't get anything done. Now this material looks so much the same after you sew it as before. I can't hardly tell if I've been around it or not, but I think I have. It's my last pin. I sew with my needle down. That's like having a third hand. Now, I always go to my serger and I serge this seam just because I think it's neat. I don't think it's necessary. You could use, I started to say hedge clippers. You could use hedge clippers on it. No. What are those things with the little teeth? Pinking shears. You could use pinking shears on it. Or you can just trim it. And you iron it toward, now look at that! Oh my gosh, boy, I hope you can see in the camera and it's not all off someplace. Look at that. It's just perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect. Oh my gosh, I just love perfect. Okay, I'm going to turn it right side out. Oh, I have to show you something that I did today. Okay, check out that sleeve. Is that total awesomeness? You're like, lady, if you would hold it still, maybe we could see it. I'll show you. See that sleeve? Awesome. No bubbles. No pleats. No tucks. It's perfect. Perfect, perfect. Then I want to show you how I finished this collar. It calls for the blouse, the collar, which is 2 collars, one on top of the other, put it on the blouse, and then it wants you to make a facing, then it wants you to interface the facing, then it wants you to sew the facing on top of the collar and the blouse, then it wants you to turn the facing to the inside. Now I did that on the first bow blouse I made, that New Look 6808. I hate that facing in there. It's always popping up and it looks stupid. I took a piece of black knit. Right here it is. I cut it 2 inches wide. I put it on like as if it was the facing, but it wasn't the facing. I lined it up on top of the collar, and I did trim the seam down to 3/8 inch, and I sewed it all the way around. Then I turned it around and folded it in, and I had all this excess left over. So it was just hanging down in here, you know, the 2 inches of it. But I ironed it real good, and I pulled the binding, let's call it, tight, and I sewed all the way around. It's underneath the collar so you can't see it. So I sewed all the way around that piece of knit. Then I just took a pair of scissors and I just pulled the knit up out of the way, and I just cut it real close to the seam line and cut the extra off. And that's what it looks like. Gosh, I hope you can see. That's the only bad thing about having a camera on a tripod. I can't tell what you can see and what you can't see. Let me get behind it and see what you can see. Let me see. There you go. Can you see now? Neat, 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 neat. Black knit. And here is what it looks like underneath the collar. And look at this cute bow. How darling is that? Well, I'm going to put this other sleeve in, and I'm going to try this on, and then I'm going to take a picture of it, and then this project is done. Bye!